Hey guys, it's James D Racing back for another Assetto Corsa video, and for this video we are going to do a little rundown of all of the graphics settings that I run on Assetto Corsa, and I will also give you some tips to improve your racing experience, hopefully, just with a couple of suggestions of what programs I use and by mods that are built into Assetto Corsa to make your graphics and gameplay even better than it is already. Because obviously, Assetto Corsa is a pretty good sim as it was when it was released, but obviously on the PC you've got loads of mods and lots of things you can do. So we will start off by going to my browser here, just so I can show you all of the things that I recommend before we even touch the graphics settings. Just a little checklist of all the things that you should have in order to get the same sort of graphics that I do and that you've probably seen from other channels of really high quality videos. So first one is going to be Pure. So sorry, I don't know how to say his second name, but Peter Boese um, is the creator of Pure. So Pure is basically a weather graphics mod that can obviously you can add all kinds of different weather. You can add different weather slots, um, but built into that also you've got your Pure config, which can adjust things such as your saturation and contrast and various lighting settings as well. It's some really in-depth stuff and is a little bit complicated if you don't know what you're doing, and that's probably why you're here clicking on the video, is because you're new to Assetto Corsa and you want to know how to improve your racing experience, which is of course it's quite a bit of a learning curve basically, but you can pick it up quite quickly. It's taken me, I think, 2.5 years. I've had my gaming PC now, and there's still always things that I'm finding to just improve a little bit at a time. So it's definitely worth going over. You've got the web link up here, and definitely get Pure. There's a small fee for it. I do continue to pay the monthly fee because I think it's absolutely brilliant. And if we have a look on their page as well, you see I don't think they're going to be doing too badly for money for a little while. 153,000 members, so yeah, head on over and get that. Reshade is another one, but that's something I will cover in another video. As part of my Patreon, not that I'm doing any advertising, but I do make Reshade presets in order just to make things a little bit easier, but that's one for another time. Next one you're going to want is the custom shaders patch. That's absolutely vital that you get that, because that is what gives you the various improvements to the graphics. It's probably the most important out of all of them, but Pure and CSP go together, so get them installed. And obviously you're going to want the paid versions for each of these. I don't actually know if all of them have got a free option. I know Content Manager does, but if it does say there's a small donation or a fee, then 100% do it. So yeah, get your Content Manager as well. As you can see, I've left all the links up here. Hopefully you can see that, but I'll make sure I include them all in the description just to make things a little bit easier. Right, so we'll jump on in. Yep, me on the motorbike at Mallory Park. So we've loaded up Content Manager, and you'll get to this screen here. As I mentioned, I've got the full version. I think a donation of like £2 or something, so you don't need to put in a lot of money to get it. The light version was decent enough, but you just don't get any customization options anywhere near close to the full one. So just get that. It's very good. And you want to come down to, first of all, AC settings. So this gives you a overview of your previous race performance. As you can see, my last race had 42 frames and 58.7. I mean, to be honest, most tracks will do pretty decent frames with the specs I've got. So that's probably the main thing to say first, is that I am running with a 4070 Ti RTX Nvidia card. So it's more on the higher end of things. Another mention as well is I do have a Discord server if you wanted to join that. There's a whole bunch of us on here that can obviously go over and help with graphic settings. If you want to DM any of us, as you see, we've got just random stuff on here, but there's some pretty useful stuff in here as well, and we're all happy to help if you need sort of to direct message if you've got any questions on setting stuff up. So there's a link to that also in the description. So moving on, we want to set the full screen. We want to put that on. Resolution, check what monitor you've got, because there's no point in trying to run in 4K if you've got a 1080p or 1440 monitor. Obviously there are some setups out there that have got triple monitors and your ultra wide monitors. I haven't really got any experience with that, truthfully, so I'm sure there's some other settings on here that you can. As I say, I haven't got any knowledge with ultra wide monitors or triple setups. So for me, I just run it on a single screen at 4K 60 hertz because my TV is 60 hertz, so I can't get any more than 60 frames a second, which for me also you can set a frame rate limit as well. I think it runs a little bit more stable if you have it set on a certain amount. It just means it's running at a constant frame rate, obviously when your graphics card can keep up with it. Obviously, fixed resolution automatically, keep that on. VSync on as well, it stops screen tearing. MSAA, you can see there is an option for 8 times experimental. Let's keep that on 4. And what I'll do is I'll just click on each of these so that you can obviously pause the video and have a little read to see how much performance hit each setting gives you. 4 times for me, but bear in mind I said 4070 cards, so if you've got like a 1080 or I don't know much with the AMD cards, I've always been into Nvidia, so whatever the equivalent graphics card is, probably want to go onto a specs website and just to see what sort of graphics card you've got and how much performance it can put out, really. World details, maximum for me. Again, just leave that open there. Various objects around the track and grass density. Didn't mention anisotropic filtering, that's the smoothness of the textures on the edges. I've got that on maximum, and as we can see on here as well, it's got only 1.2% impact on performance, which is it's just not very much. I'll just set that to maximum, to be honest. Shadows resolution is a bit of a bigger hit on performance. I think something like 4 or 5% for me. Yeah, 5.9%. There's not really been any benefit to run it higher. To be honest, with the 4070 card, I probably could get away with the 2048 by 2048. For me though, obviously we'll come on to custom shaders patch in a minute, but there's quite a few tracks which are quite demanding on lighting, and obviously if you're going to run AI / doing online, then you're going to want to try and keep the frames as high as possible. So for me, I keep shadows on 1024 by 1024, and again I'll just leave that screen open there for a second just so you can have a read of the description, because you might want to run it a little bit higher. It's all personal preferences. You know, initially I wasn't going to make this video because the thing with the graphic settings is it's very tailored to your specific setup that you've got, but it's probably important to do it, as a lot of you have asked me to do it. So I'll just leave these screens open so you can have a little read. Smoke generation, just keep that on maximum. Doesn't really have much impact, I've found. If you're doing lots of drifting, it may well have a bit of an impact on performance, because it's going to be, of course, something graphical there all the time. So if you're on a maybe mid to low end system, then maybe consider running it in the low to medium settings. Reflections next. So this one does have pretty big impact on performance. I had a little look through the settings before I started the video. Did sort of one recording earlier, and yeah, so it's about 12% of a performance hit. So I keep that on 1024 by 1024. Basically what I would say is if you've got a 4080 card, 4080 Super, 4090, maybe even 4070 Super as well, then you could probably go up a setting. But I think from what the description is saying, the benefit really is just to keep the settings as you can see there, 1024 by 1024. And obviously, as I mentioned, if you've got maybe a 3050 card or lower, then probably run it on 512 or 256. Apologies, I don't know much on the AMD cards. Probably since I was maybe 12, 13, I'm showing an interest in PCs. It's always been Nvidia for me, so I only know really the specs on those cards, but there are websites on there. I'll probably link a website down below as well, so you can compare the difference between a 3060 and a equivalent AMD card. But I'll make sure I put a link down there as well. Rendering distance, I'll just put that straight in the middle. I don't think it has too much impact on the performance. You see there, 0.48%. So I'll just keep that in the middle. So I've not really noticed any differences by putting it up or down so far. Post-processing, so that's another important one. So if you're new to Assetto Corsa, you may not know, but there are various. I think the best way to describe it is it's kind of like when you upload a picture on Instagram or something like that. You get various different filters that you can apply, and that is pretty much what it is on Assetto Corsa as well. Excuse me, bit of a cough there. So you can set different ones. I'll give a link to Overtake GG down in the description. To be honest, I might not, because I think anyone who's into sim racing has probably heard of or has gone on that website already. So yeah, check out Overtake GG in the, I think it's AC miscellaneous. They've got just loads of different filters, but the ILP one, the long version, improved lighting for pure, and I think the latest version is version 12.2, I think it is. But that is for me the best filter. It is a little bit more demanding on your graphics card, but as we can see here, I've got quite a lot of post-processing filters installed. The Premiere one is also very, very good. That's by Jacob Capello, I think his name is. There's some really good ones on there. So the Premiere Pure one, Premiere 5.1, I think it was actually, is the one I'd recommend other than the ILP one. But also the ones that Peter includes with Pure is pretty decent as well. The Candy one's quite good, but I think the colours are a bit oversaturated. Obviously, if you're running the setup with HDR, then obviously have a look at the HDR options as well. For some reason, my TV, it has got HDR10 built in, but whenever I go to my Windows settings and put HDR on it, it just doesn't do anything. So I've always just run without HDR. It's fine. I've made videos for 2 or 3 years now, and there's never been any major complaints on the quality. So I'll just run it without HDR, and then obviously you got overall quality. So that'd be all your graphics settings for like texture qualities and things for track surfaces, car reflections, car textures, interior details, track objects, clouds, rain. The whole lot really is all on this overall quality setting. So I've got that on maximum. So on my old specs on a 3060 Ti, which was my old GPU, I did run it on maximum also. So I think unless you're on the sort of, I say lower than 2060, something like that, you probably want to have a look to lower those settings again. To pop that up. 1.96%. So it's not too bad. I've got it on maximum. But the best thing you can do really is, obviously if you're on a system that's close to my specs, is just copy what I've got. And obviously if you're, as I mentioned earlier, if you've got maybe a 3070 or a 2060 or something like that, then just tweak them a little bit lower, and then you can use the session performance up here, or you can use the GeForce Experience or AMD equivalent program to check what sort of frames that you're getting. But obviously for me, I just prefer 60, even if it comes at a cost to the overall graphics. But that's the whole reason why I upgraded. So next we've got motion blur, glare quality, 2.6% hit on that. You get some really good visuals with things like the lighting, with your headlights and tail lights, especially in the sunset and night races. You get some really good. It just reflects really nicely. So got that on maximum, but I just leave that open again so you can see what sort of percentage that each setting makes to your overall gameplay, really. So next is depth of field. Again, maximum for me. I've got 4.47% performance hit for having that setting on. I think it kind of helps with the immersion to have the depth of field, because if you play something like Forza Motorsport, for example, everything looks really sharp, even from a distance, so you don't really get that same sense of speed, and you don't really feel like you're moving as fast as you are. Well, obviously you're not moving at all, you're sat on your sim rig moving at 0 miles an hour, but at least it makes you think like you're moving faster. Motion blur, turn that to off, because we'll go into custom shaders patch in a minute, and I'll show you there's some other settings on there as well. Heat shimmering, sun rays, and FXAA. Tick those. Just leaving that on again, so you can have a look. So as you can see, that sort of blurs where you've got your. Obviously, if you've seen a car running on a hot day when the exhaust gases rise up, and it sort of gives you that shimmering. So that's what that setting does. Obviously, your sun rays as well. Don't really need to explain that, and it's a really small performance hit. So just keep that on. FXAA. Just turn it on. 0.4%. It's going to make no difference. Just to keep that on. Mirrors does have a big impact. 6.3%. So what I am going to do is I'm going to leave that on maximum, because that's what I had it on. But to be honest, if you're on, anything even lower than a 3060 Nvidia card, then just put it on 128 or 256 by 1024. It doesn't really make any difference. Of course, you're going to use your mirrors probably when you drive in. So yeah, you want to focus on having good graphics ahead of you, not looking behind. So when it comes to pretty much all of my sim racing games, I just put mirror resolution a little bit lower, and probably the same for shadows. Right, VR, Oculus, don't know about that, apologies. So I'll just copy these settings here for system settings. Skybox reflection on 100, MIP level of detail bias 0, and then frame latency on auto. You see there are some other settings you can change as well, but that comes more into the other thing as well is exposure. Just keep that on 100. Some of the post-processing filters will allow you to adjust this slider for your exposure sort of live, but some of them have got fixed exposure, so don't worry too much on that. Just keep it on 100. I don't think we've got any other graphic settings that we can really look at. Got the app window there. Like I say, if you're new to Assetto, it's crazy. You can get so many different apps that people make. It's never known anything like it. There was one about was one with replays. Yeah, so that's probably another one to pay attention to. So if your replays are really stuttery and it can't keep up, then obviously just lower that a little bit. And you can see, so high would be 33 hertz, or about 30 frames a second, give or take, and then you've got your ultra, which is for me 60 FPS. Obviously check that. Obviously have a play. Depends if you do replays. Really, I don't really bother too much. As viewers of my channel will know, I just record things on GeForce Experience and then edit them. Right, so enough of that. Let's move over from Assetto Corsa settings. Custom shaders patch, as I mentioned at the start of the video, make sure you've got that installed and you're on the latest version. It does give you the option to download previous versions of it. I don't. I just keep the latest one. You can have a little look. It gives you all the descriptions of what each update gives you. You can reinstall it. You can delete it. You can install a completely different version. So whichever one you think is best. But for me, I've got the 0.2.4 version. There's loads of other things up here. I've never really played with any of this. So you can change various things. It's not really a graphic setting as such, but you can change when you load the tracks. You can have, but basically when you take a screenshot within, I don't know if it comes under CSP or Content Manager, but you basically any screenshots you take within the program, it will set them as your loading screen for that track. So it's pretty cool. So here is my custom shaders patch settings. Just sort of leaving them on the screen for you to look at. I didn't really change too much. I'd probably say just copy these because these are just general settings. They're not really very important to the overall graphics quality. Okay, so we do have some small graphics related ones. So you've got the optimization screens here. So you have a little bit of sorry, there's just so many settings. I can't keep up with it quite a lot of the time because there's so much you can change. It's crazy. That's why I'm just hovering over each of these so you can obviously have a look. Probably best thing to do is just copy my settings at this point. There's not really I don't think there's any benefit to changing these ones. Obviously you've got your smoke settings there as well. If your CPU is a little bit lower, I mean I would say my system is quite well balanced. The 5800X Ryzen with the 4070 is quite a good combination, but you might have a really good graphics card but maybe not such a good processor, and obviously they go hand in hand with some things, so you might want to limit your smoke settings a little bit. Brake disc effects there, so it's pretty good. You get really cool effects when you hit the brakes, obviously, and they get really hot and you get that nice glow. So make sure that's switched on, and then obviously you can have a play with these as well. It's just visual settings of how worn the brakes are. Colourful shadowing, make sure that's switched on. DXGI, true borderless. Right, so I mentioned earlier about running in full screen, so that's on true borderless because I can run other apps in the background like SimHub. To be honest, you're probably just going to want that on I would say you just leave it on default, or you can put it on true borderless. As long as you've got the full screen setting turned on, that'll be just fine. New DXGI flip model active. Oh yes, because it's to do with the HDR, so that's why I've got that switched on. Obviously, if you've got HDR switched on, then maybe untick that. Haven't really played with that very much, to be honest. Extra effects. So I said earlier about the motion blur. So you're disabling the one that's built into Assetto Corsa, and you're using the one for custom shaders patch, which is much better. It gives you a really nice sense of speed. I did have it on medium with my old card on the 3060. It did run on high as well, so put that onto high for now. You can change the noise settings, sharpness, all sorts of things in here. You can change local reflections. I'm just going to hover over all of the ones that you should have ticked. They should be ticked to standard. Any ones that are in blue are ones that I have switched on manually. Anything that's in white will be as it comes on custom shaders patch. So ambient occlusion, so that's to do with the lighting slash reflections. Apologies if that's a really poor description of it. I've got obviously NVIDIA, so I've got that ticked on. As you can see, I've had to tick it on because it's an extra effect, and it obviously does come at a cost to your graphics and your performance. So just copy these ones if you think your graphics card is powerful enough. Got fake shadows, make sure that's switched on. Force feedback tweaks, obviously that's your steering wheel. Free cam, that's obviously you compress. For me, I've actually got it set as a drone. I've got the drone cam app, so just sort of fly around a bit. But there is I think you press F5 and you can look around the car. Not really graphics related, so we'll skip that. Graphics adjustments, so you've got turn the extension on. Now this one is a big one for performance overall. So I noticed a big frames increase. I think I went from I'm trying to think now, it was a little while ago since I had my old card, so I think it jumped from about 48 up to 55 frames per second. This is the same conditions. I think it was like F1 car in Monaco during the day, but it put the FPS up quite a lot, so switch that one on. I've got that turned off for screenshots. There's some bug on there, I don't know if they fixed it, but if you've got that ticked and you go into your photo mode, it just messes everything up, so keep that off for now. Quality settings, so sort of think of this like if you've heard of DLSS for NVIDIA. So what it does is it gives you more frames by decreasing the resolution and then upscaling it, so it's that same sort of thing. I've got it on best quality. You can turn this down a little bit, so my rule for this, I would say, is if you've got a 4000 series RTX card or something like 3070, 3080, best quality. Something a little bit lower than that, ultra quality. And then again a little bit lower than that, put it on quality. And obviously if you're on something like a 1070 or maybe even older than that, then put it on performance or sad 25% for testing. Yeah, that looks miserable, so we're not going to go anywhere near that. So keep it on best quality. Right, so these are the motion blur settings. These are the ones that I'm pretty sure I downloaded them from somewhere. So let's copy that. Gain in first person view 350, and then gain for exterior cameras, so let's put that on 200. You've got your grass effects, so this can have quite a hit on your graphics. So if you want to run everything else on quite high but you're not quite getting enough frames, then quality settings, maybe put that on low or medium. I've got that on high, but you see I don't even have it on very high. I think if I had a next level up of GPU, I would run it on very high, but to be honest, I think high is just fine. I'm completely off topic with graphics, but neck FX, definitely have a look at some settings on there because it influences how your view when you're driving, basically, in cockpit cam, and it's pretty good. Nice screenshots, so this is all to do with photo mode, sort of graphics related, so I will include this as well. See there, the only thing I've changed is the image quality. Everything else just on standard. Rain effects, so probably the biggest one, and a lot of people make this mistake, is they'll get pure, but maybe they don't get custom shaders patch, or they don't install it properly, and then they go, why does my rain not work? It's because you need to have rain effects switched on. You can set the rain maps quality. This doesn't directly control the weather. This is just the settings for the rain. The weather effects we'll come onto in just a second. So you've got the overall quality of the rain. I have that on high. Lower spec settings, run it on medium. And then if you're on Potato PC or whatever the equivalent you want to call it, then have it on low. Drops on the screen, that is more just for immersion than anything else, to have the raindrop that's actually coming down the screen. I've got that on 25%. I have run it a little bit higher before, but some of the Formula 1 videos I do, I just have it on 25% for now. Okay, so next we'll move on to reflections. Make sure we've got the active extension switched on for that. Skid marks FX. Have that one switched on as well. Smart mirror. So when I was making a lot of my Formula 1 videos until maybe about 6 months ago, a viewer kindly pointed out that my mirrors didn't look realistic. They were actually they weren't at the right angles, and the focus was completely wrong. It just looked pretty bad, and it actually spoilt, despite the video being really popular. It's probably one thing that spoilt the immersion and probably ruined a really good video was that the real mirrors was not switched on. So make sure you've got that switched on up in the top. Real mirrors active. Alter FOV, field of view, and then you've got your blur setting. Enable real mirrors if car is focused. So that one stays on as well. Smart shadows, make sure that's enabled. Surfaces FX, so I didn't even know this was even an option, so probably because the new custom shaders patch isn't that old, and so I will come back to this one later. Track adjustments, so this is sort of graphics related again, so you can adjust seasons. I suppose it's more weather and time of day settings, but I've just got that on with date set. Another good thing to turn on, hide crew in practice mode. So if you want to do any photos with, there are some tracks / showrooms out there that you can get where they're designed purely just for taking photos, and it's ruined because you've got a pit crew and it just ruins the whole thing. So make sure that's checked as well. And then next up, and probably final just for this part of the graphic settings, is make sure you've got your weather effects and set it to pure. This is what allows it to run the pure planner, where you can change, you can have cloudy weather, you have sunsets, you can have night racing, all sorts. Make sure that's set to pure, because if it's set to default, it probably won't work properly at all. So increased cloud shadows resolution, extra sharp stars, force AI headlights. I just think it looks quite good. Don't know if you ever played the old Gran Turismo games, but there was some sort of early evening races where the headlights roll on the cars sort of during the day, and it looks quite good. So just copy these as well. And then yeah, that's it for the graphics settings within Content Manager. And now what we're going to do is I'm just going to pick a car. I say at random, but it's not really at random. And we're going to head into the track so we can have a look at the pure settings. So apologies, I did actually record this previously, and it looks like we've lost the audio for this part of the video. So basically in this section I actually just go over and summarise what each part of the pure config menu does. To start with, I actually realised that I was on a post-processing filter that you couldn't adjust. So all I did was I went and got the editable one reloaded. So yeah, this is just a sort of post-recording sort of add-on, if you like. So you can see there I've loaded the editable filter up, and the next part of the video, I'll probably just end the voiceover now, is I'll just go through and adjust all of the different settings. So you've got your lighting screen, which is your ambient lighting settings. You've got your saturation and your light levels. Just have a little play with those, because some, like the directional one and the distant ones, they don't actually play much difference with some tracks. You can see here I drag the sliders up and down just so you can see what all of the different settings do. Obviously it's important to note that the settings will be slightly different and will appear different across different tracks. Of course, most of these tracks are modded, they're not standard with Assetto Corsa, so do bear that in mind please as well. Just before I leave the end of the voiceover, as I mentioned, please do join the Discord server if you get stuck. You can direct message me via email, you can contact me on Discord via DM or in the Discord server. You can either comment down in the YouTube video. Yeah, just get hold of me if you need any help. I'm always happy to help people get their Assetto Corsa running as good and enjoy it as much as I do. Really, that's what it's about. And finally, towards the end of the video, I go into the Reshades program as well, so I'll probably cover that in a bit more detail later on, but basically it's got all of your extra shaders and things. But to be honest, you probably don't want to overcomplicate it because there's a lot to learn with just standard Assetto with the pure, and then you can have a look at Reshade later on. Please do also consider joining my Patreon. You don't have to pay for it. There is an option to if you choose to, but I've made it easy by adding a couple of Reshade presets that are free of charge completely. They were originally part of the big package that I offer, which has got like 20 different settings on there with everything included, but it's more like a preview, but it should help you get started. And if you enjoy the video, please do give me a subscribe. If you want to stay up to date with Assetto Corsa content, I mainly do Formula 1, as you can see. Those of you who have supported obviously along the way, thank you very much. It means a lot. We've got like 1,500 members on Discord now. We've got 430 members on Patreon. Free members, we've probably got about 40 paid ones, which is really good. And obviously subscribers wise, we're doing fantastic. I don't think nearly 2,500 would be possible, but hopefully we can get it up a little bit more with you supporting along. Sorry if this video has been a bit boring. It's not been boring for me to record, but it's been a lot of talking, so I do appreciate that. If you want any summary of each setting, just say feel free to contact me. Until the next time, I'm going to leave the video here, and thanks very much for watching.